Hello everyone. Now we would like to continue talking about the libraries that's accessible and can be successfully used to handle drawing in while we are doing machine learning and data science. So the first uh, part here is going to be I'm going to open the notebook on Google Colab and start talk about the Matplotlib, which is a very important library, and we're going to talk also a little bit about Seaborn. Now, this commands is actually commands that help me to mount my Google Drive. So if you have a Google Drive, you would like to mount it, that will be fine. If not, as I mentioned before, you have a file you would like to upload, so you can say open file and then go to upload, drag and drop the file, or call the file from anywhere in your machine. That's again is possible. If you have some file on GitHub, you can go and drag this file. If you have files on your Google Drive, like in my case here, so I have the file on my Google Drive, which I already mount. Okay. All right, now let's start by talking about some of the features in Matplotlib. Matplotlib allow us to draw a line drawing or a line plot, bar plot, scatter plot, histogram, box plot, and so on. So I will try to get to some of the features in MATLAB, and actually in Matplotlib. By the way, if you know MATLAB, things will be very easy here because most of the command that is used in MATLAB are used here, like plot, for example. The only thing that we need to do is we need to import the library, which is Matplotlib, this library, and dot by plot as plot. Okay, so this is the first thing that you need to do here. Now, in order to make a line plot, I would like to develop two lists and then draw the two lists like x and y. So if I call x equals to, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let's draw just 5 is enough. And then y equals, let's say 10, 15, 7, 12, and 8. So we have 5x and 5y. All right, now if I would like to create a line plot, if I say create a line plot, so simply I will call the bt plot dot plot. In MATLAB we always use plot, and then I'm gonna plot x and y, and then I can here add labels and titles. So I can say plot dot x label, and this x label can be, for example, x axis, and blt dot y label, and then I can call this y axis, and I also can add title, say plot, so I'm calling the library along with the title, and then we can call title the x versus y. Okay, as simple as this. And after we finish this, we just display, say plot dot show like this. Now let's see what's going to happen here if I executed this part of the code. As you can see, I'm getting, let me reduce the size here. I'm getting this characteristic. So I have the x label, I have the y label, I have the x versus y as a title. Of course, there are some options that we can utilize here while making this drawing. So for example, I can say marker equal, maybe I can put like circle, which is O, and then if I execute this, I have the marker on the line. Actually, there are lots or several markers that we can use or utilize for drawing. We can also use the up arrow like this, Now we get this triangle. We can have a marker like plus, any type of marker you prefer. You can use it here on the figure. That's not the only thing that you can utilize. Uh, you can also add something like another like color. You can change the color of the line. You can make it red. So if we execute this, see the line now is red. Okay. We can also change the line style. This is another option. Let's say line style. You can make the line style, for example, dash dash or dash dot. So it's gonna be like a disconnected line like this, or you can make it like this. Okay, so that's a possibility. You can also change the line width. Okay, in MATLAB actually you don't have to write the command like line width. Uh, no, in MATLAB actually you write the command line width, but for the style you don't have to to write. So you can just write red dash dot between quote and that's it. So line width you can make it 2, for example. So this will make it thicker. Yes, thicker. Let me make this color, let's say blue. Okay, so it's thicker. Now if I want to make this like 4 to see how thick the line is, yeah, so see that. So that's the effect. And so we can also change the marker size. If you want to change the marker size, make it bigger, for example, you can say marker size. Let's make it, for example, 8, and let's return this as 2, for example, so you can see. So it gets bigger, as you can see here. Maybe if I make it as O, it will be much clearer. See that? So these are some of the features that you can utilize. Also, if you would like to have grid for the drawing, you just have to add an extra command here, say plot dot grid, and make it true. So here we go, we have grid on the figure. So that's something looks nice. Okay. Yeah. Now I guess maybe if I'd like to take another example, um, let me get another example here. Get a code. I'm gonna put this example here. So this example is more practical. So you have the years and you have the sales, and so every year you have some sales. Now here I'm plotting the data. I had to upload Panda here for the data frame. So this is more practical. It's not just a list I'm creating from scratch, but it's a data frame. So I'm saying here draw uh, uh, DF of year along with DF of sales. So I'm drawing the sales over the years. And then I have the marker circle. I'm plotting the X label, the Y label, and the title sales over year. And I have the grid. Let me just uh, bookmark this one or comment this one. See that? So this is the same as before. But realize something here, that the x-axis, as you can see, it really display a floating value along with like 0.5 of the year, which is not practical. So here what we did is we added something called xtick. So xtick means like take the values of the year only for the xtick. So if I do that, now I'm getting a better outcome. So xtick actually can play with the values of the this is xtick. You can do the same thing for ytick also if you like. Okay, so that maybe will help you if you have stuck with a problem like this in more examples. Okay, all right, now let's move to the next type of plot, which is a box plot. Let's put this here. For the box plot, again, I already uploaded the Panda and Matplotlib. Okay, let me define some data type here, like a data frame. I'm gonna call it this data frame is, I'm gonna call like category, and I'm gonna have this category, like for example a a comma b comma c comma d, like this. So I'm defining some category, so like ABC, this should be my x-axis, and then I'm gonna define sales. If even I wrote sales like this, I can just highlight it and then select the code, and then after that I'm going to define the sale as 500. These are values, you don't have to put code here. 800, 1200, and 1500, something like that. Okay, now I forgot something here, which is a comma, should be here. All right, now I can say df, which is a data frame, equal panda dot data frame, okay, dot data, and then data. Now I'm defining the data frame. Now if I would like to create a scatter plot, create I'm sorry, a bar plot, that's what we want to do. And then I will say plot dot bar. So instead of saying plot dot plot, I'm gonna say plot dot bar, and the values that I'm gonna use is df of category. Okay, this is my x-axis, along with comma df for sales. Here we go. Okay, and then I'm gonna use the same thing. I'm gonna say plot dot x label, and I'm gonna call it category, and plot, sorry, blt dot plot dot y label, and this will be sales. And then I'm gonna say plot dot title, and this is gonna be sales by category. All right, and we ended this by saying plot dot show. Now let's see what will be the output in this case. Here we go. So we have the x-axis is A, B, C, D, and we have the sales as the y-axis. This is what we have. As you can see here, we have some features like marker, like color. I think we can use color here also, if you like to use color equals, let's call it for example red, and see what's going to happen here. Here we go. So we got the different color. Okay, so there are of course many options that you can utilize for drawing, and but we are talking here about basic you know, like ideas for the I mean, like there are several options you can utilize here, and so on. Okay, now if we would like to move to the scatter plot, let's see, scatter plot. Let's I like to try another example here. Okay, okay, so this example is I'm getting some data for the age and income, and I'm doing the same thing, like define this as a data frame, and then I'm plotting the age along with the income and have the grade, same as before here. I just want to save some time. I mean, you can just change this to scatter, by the way. I mean, if you just change it to scatter like this, here we go, we have a scatter plot, right? But if you can just keep this, Control Z, and I'm gonna run this one. and this is gonna give me the scatter plot, right? So that's all. Okay. Uh, all right. Now we move now to something called histogram. You know, the histogram is more likely. Let me just get this down. So the histogram can be successfully used to plot the number of times like code is presented, or number of times that the element is presented in the data set. So for example, if I'm creating a data frame in Banda like this, I'm saying data equals, and then I'm defining something like scores, and defining this scores as follows, like 85, 78, 92, what else, 65, 80, 75, 88, 90, and 82, and 7, something like that. Okay, and then after that, I mean, this is a good practice. That how can we create a data frame? So df equals bd dot data frame. Now I'm creating the data frame of the data, and then I can create a histogram of the data. I'm gonna what simply I can copy this drawing here. Of course, I'm not just I will not need all of this. I just need df, because df is 1 now, and x plot I'm gonna call it here scores, and y plot I'm gonna call it, let's say for example, frequency, and I'm gonna make this one as distribution of scores. Okay, and now df, I'm gonna draw df of scores. Okay, now this will draw this figure, and if I do drawing like this, scores should be correct. Yeah, what is the problem here? I think the problem here, we have scattered. This should be histogram, and the complaint was actually that there is no y. You realize that? So that's one of the problems when you take a copy and paste. So please be careful. And histogram is HIST, so that should give us the drawing now. Here we go. Okay, so but as you can see, the width of the column is very big, so in order to control this, I can write here width, and I can make the width, let's say 1.5 for example, and see what's going to happen. Here we go. Well, that's better. So you can play with the size of the histogram. So you can play with the size. Of course, you can play. If you make it 1, for example, this will be, I guess, thinner. Yeah. Okay. So that's the way we can draw a histogram for a certain data set. Okay. Another plot, which is, I mean, we utilize this plot in some application, like when we run several machine learning models, we can see the resilience, or the uh, how good is the result, or how accurate is the result. We can do something called box plot. I mean, maybe that's something you might need in the future. So we can utilize this for different applications. Now, in this case, I might need to draw this using actually a Seaborn, or I can draw it, or I can plot it using Matplotlib. So, for example, I mean, if I have a data set and I would like to see how the data, like calculate the mean of this data and see how this data is, you know, like surrounding to the mean. Let's say, for example, I can define some array of values. Let me get some copy from some array of values. Here we go. Let me take this data set here and I'm gonna paste it here. Okay, let's say I have a data set like this. This is a data set which has several values. Okay, and I would like to plot the box plot for this data, um, and see how it looks like. If I do that, this plot, I should get something like this. So this shows the mean of the data and the variance of it, how this data is changing around the mean. Let me try, for example, make this like 700 and see what's going to happen to this curve. See what happened here is this data is surrounding this part, but 700 looks like an outlier here. So this type of things, that when it happens, this means that this is odd value. Okay, if I make it again, like make it 100, for example, that might make the plot is like up. Let me try to increase it. I just want to show you how the variation will affect the distance. So here we go. That's what's happening. Okay, so sometimes when we have a plot, a box plot for different algorithm, we can see if there is some outlier for the data, and also we can see how good is the performance of that model if we plot all the model together. Okay, I think this will conclude the work with Matplotlib. Now we discussed several things about the regular plot, like line plot. So we just use plot dot plot. This will plot x and y, and you can play with marker type, marker size, color, line style, line width. I think many of these options can be applied in other type of plot. Now we have another plot here, and we talked about the trick of having the tick, x tick, how it should look like here, and how can we adjust it. And then we have the bar plot, which is I'm sorry, yeah, this is a bar plot. I think this is yeah, this is a bar plot. Seems this was from another application. So this is a bar plot as we draw it. We have the scatter plot. This is scatter plot. Sometimes we use it just to show, maybe when we talk about the linear regression, we can draw a scatter plot, and then in the middle we can have the line that approximate it. Then we talked about the histogram, and here we have data for different, I mean, we could have like different histogram for different data set. So you could have like two columns, one in blue, one in red. That maybe this can be also a way to compare, for example, the mean square error or mean absolute error. And then we have the box plot that we can utilize for different applications. Now the next part will be about Seaborn, and we will continue this. All right, now the Seaborn is actually an open source Python library that is built on the top of Matplotlib. It is designed for creating attractive and informative statistical graph. It provides a high-level interface compared to Matplotlib, making it easier to generate complex visualization. Now let's start by some simple example. I mean, we will try to, let's go to the right spot here and then create a code. Now we will try first, before we start, we need to import Seaborn. So we say import Seaborn as SNS. That's how we call it every time. Now, the nice thing about the Seaborn is also you can load some data from Seaborn. So Seaborn include or has some data set. One of the famous data set that Seaborn provide is the iris data set. I'm not sure if you know about the iris data set before. So if I call this data equals to sns.data.load data set, okay, and then you can say I would like to upload the iris dataset. Let's run this part first before we proceed to the drawing. Now we load the data. Now we can say data. If I want to execute this part, let me just maybe create another one. Don't have to run it again. To see what is this data contain. Here it is. So this data, I can say data dot head. Let's remember the commands in Panda. So this gives me the head of this data set. It has the length, the width, the betal length and betal width, and this is a species. This is some examples of the types of iris. I think if we do something like this, if we say data dot, of course, let's get this column species here to see what it has. I think this is maybe here we go. So this shows that this last column has three classes. So these are the three classes of the iris data set. So we can, of course, use this data in the future for some classification problem. All right. So now, if I would like to do a scatter plot, let me add the code here. Here, create a scatter plot using SNS Seaborn. In MATLAB, if you remember, we used to say BLT and say scatter, right? But here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna say SNS dot scatter plot. So that's the difference in command between this one and this one. And then we have to define data. So data in this case will equal data because we called it data. We can call it df or anything, but just in our case. And then we need the x-axis. So what we can select the x-axis as one of the data set that we have, and let's select this one, betal length, as an x-axis, and then the y-axis. We can select the width like this. So this is going to be a scatter plot. It's not going to be a bar plot or anything else. And then after that, we say we can utilize from Matplotlib, matplot title as we like, any title, scatter plot using SNS, and we can again say plot dot show like this. And let's see what's going to happen here when we execute this code. Here we go. So we have here scatter plot of spale length and the width. Okay, but as you can see, I mean, all the color of the dotted dots are the same. It does not really classify the three types that we discussed. So one way of doing this to classify and also allow us to add some logo legend. So we say who, and we classify them based on species, right? Based on species. Let me just make sure that. So we would like to classify them based on species, and let's see what's going to happen. Here we go. So we have three species here. So now the scatter plot will be designed based on the species type. So that's a nice thing about Seaborn. It allows you to get some nice scatter plot like this. Okay. What else we can do with the scatter? What else we can do with Seaborn? Another thing we can do with Seaborn is plotting the bar plot. Okay. Let's load another data set. Like here, I'm gonna say data sample, and I'm gonna load another data here. Let's call it tips. This is another data set, and we can say what is tips. See what tips include or has. So tips here has total bill, tip, sex, smoker, day, time, and size. So these are the main features. We call this column features or attribute that we can utilize. So I would like to create a scatter plot for this data set. So I'm going to say sns dot, sorry, bar plot. I would like to get bar plot. Okay, again, bar plot, because bar plot can help me here to see the nature of this data. Again, I have to say data and then say data again, equal data. And then I would like to draw the relationship between what, uh, let's say day, yes, the day, and the expense or the total bill, and y will be total bill. You can take a copy here and paste it, so not making any error in the spelling. And then I'm gonna do the same thing, who equals, and I will do that based on one of the attributes. What attributes I can select? Smoker, non-smoker, or sex. Let's try both of them. So we have sex here. Let's see what's gonna happen. Here we go. So this is, you can say plot dot show. That will remove this line that we get always. Here we go. Okay, so this is a plot. So as you can see here, I'm looking, the nice thing about Seaborn is it looks at the data. So the x-axis is days, all right? So we have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then I'm looking at the total bill based on who spent this money. Is it male or female? Okay, and that's something is important. Let's try something else. Let me try to look at the data one more time and see, maybe we can change this so we can look at what I said, smoker. Let's look at smoker and see if we have yes or no. Okay, let's remove this one now. See the plot based on smoker, yes or no. Right, so maybe if you have a data set, and let's say it's a BMAT data set for diabetes, people who have diabetes, if it is pregnant or non-pregnant, if it is the BMI is over a certain value or not, stuff like this, that will definitely help you when you do the bar plot. Bar plot is one of the very interesting thing when you write your paper or your article and you would like to show some statistics about your data set. That's something we always do in the while we are utilizing data for research paper. Sometimes we would like to show or visualize the data set as we did before, like we can say data dot describe. I think I'm just reminding you with a command, data.describe, that shows you the statistics about the data. Maybe sometimes in your paper, if you would like to take this, you can take it like this and then put it in the your article. So this is a table. You can take it, and as I mentioned before, in table online LaTeX, you can go here and utilize the editor here for this type of application. Like maybe I didn't talk much about this. I can say I think table, there is something here, remove all order, remove clear table. Yes, clear table. Now I clear the table. Now if for example I would like to take a copy from this and insert it in my paper, I can just go here and Control V. Now here we go. Of course I need to take a copy from this, Control X, and then move it like this, Control V. That's something you can do, right? And now you can have a border for this data easily. Of course, if you would like to remove this column, you can go here and remove column. If you would like to remove these rows, you can come here and remove rows like this. Okay, so this is the values. I think we have, yeah, we have the tips and size, like so because these are the only numeric values in the data set. These are the only numeric values. So, and then I say generate, then that's the table. I can take a copy from this table and insert it in my paper. But sometimes it's a good idea if you try to, because this HTML appears because it's taking from here, there are some format, so it may be better to take it to a notebook before you move it to the table here. Okay, just a quick tip here. All right, now the next plot that we can utilize here is a line plot. Okay, so let's see what we can do here. I'm gonna upload a different data set here. I mean, you can of course look at the data set that is provided by Seaborn. There is a lot, and then I can say again SNS dot plot or line plot, and then I have of course data equals data. Okay, now you, I guess you can remember all these commands. Before I do that, let me just get a new code here, and because we need to see what the data contains as attributes or as features. So we have here subject. Let's do it as head. That will be nicer. Okay, and now I'm getting the subject, time, point, event, region, signal, and so on. So let me draw the data for. Let me draw the time point. So I will make x equals. Let me just do this. X equals time point, and let's take y. We need another like values, like numbers, like signal. Okay. Of course, I'm not really talking much about what is the source of this data or what is the nature of this data. Actually, the goal here is to just only to, by the way, for is to understand the nature. And I will do this so based on what I can do is, let's say, event or region. Yeah, I mean like the third element, and then we can say plot dot show like this, and so we draw x and y based on the region. Let's say, see what's going to happen. Okay, so we have several regions here. So this border actually represents the intensity. Maybe if we try, I think if we try the event, it might be clear better, I think. So yeah, so here you see that this line actually represents the signal, okay, various signal, and along with the boundary, this margin of the signal. So this line plot for some frequency that we have. I mean, you don't, maybe you'll not need all of this, but it's nice to know that it exists. So all the features that is available for Matplotlib, it's available in Seaborn. Let me show you another example because I think I need to conclude the video because of the time. So if we click on this, so I'm loading the iris one more time. I'm plotting the length itself and trying to draw a histogram. So this is a histogram for the lens itself. Okay, I think this is one of the options. KDE is true. That will draw the line. Here we go. Okay, and as we mentioned before, for the histogram, but this is nice to have this because it shows the actual characteristics of this. It looks like Gaussian or something. Okay, another option that we can have is or another plot is a box plot. And as we did in the box plot in Matplotlib, you can do a box plot here as you see. So box plot here, SNS box plot, and drawing again data equal data, x is the day, total bill, and then based on the sex. So here we're gonna get something similar. Okay, of course there is some, you know, these points are like the outliers as we mentioned. Sometimes it's a good idea if we clean up the data before we utilize it for machine learning application. Okay. One more thing, which is, it's similar to the, I like to show this one. It is similar to, if you remember the correlation matrix, the bare plot actually plots the relationship between each element of the data or feature of the data along with other elements. So that's something looks very interesting. So it plots the relationship between the first feature and other features and so on. So this is a central one is for the relationship between the particle and for the variable and itself or feature in itself, and then the rest. So, I mean, we're going to show the scatter plot later on in some number of applications. And let me conclude here, and I hope this tutorial is useful for Matplotlib and Seaborn. Thanks a lot.